So Eiriley uploaded this video that supposedly exposes Kurumi. It's some serious garbage. It's absolutely filled with flaws and misguided character attacks. As you might know, Kurumi is a top player that has blown up in popularity recently. Some of his achievements include the Golden, Ragnarok, the Yandere, etc. Basically, he's really good. He took up the level Fireworks somewhat recently, an infamous top 1 by Cherry Team, and made incredible progress on it, getting as far as 68% in normal mode. Quite recently, things have gone downhill for Kurumi. Kurumi was around this time growing sick of the way the community was treating him, and he has all the reason to be. Here are some screenshots showing Kurumi's developing disgust with the community. Over 19% of people thought that Kurumi verifying Firework was more important than his own mental health. In a later community post, Kurumi expresses his confusion about his relationship with Vernum, which I presume is the leader of Cherry Team. This is when Vernum's behavior toward Kurumi was first discovered by the community. Fun fact, the original title of the video included the word fat by request of Vernum. Take that as you will. In another community post, which has since been deleted, and for good reason, Kurumi publicly apologizes to Vernum. At some point though, Kurumi left his last known community post about him leaving the community. There's been this deplorable argument that I've been hearing about recently, so I'll address that. Kurumi didn't leave the community because he's confessing. He left because the GD community sucks. The community no longer deserves him. Here's a true ending. This is a defense of Kurumi that he was unable to provide himself. And now, with some context, let's dissect this joke and exposal. So for this section, Eiriley defines a method that can be used to hack on stream. I really just don't understand this method. I tried to understand it by watching Iandis' recent video, but it still makes absolutely no sense. I just can't see how it would be a feasible method, and which is also why the said Mujige person probably got caught in the first place. Anyway, the fact that other people may have used this method cannot be used as evidence for the fact that Kurumi has used this method. This is not evidence, and should never have been used in this video. Not once in this video do they expand upon this. Any future segment goes on about other hacking methods. Completely irrelevant to Kurumi if you can't point out evidence in his videos that support this. Weak argument. Okay, so for this, Eiriley splits one of Kurumi's Tartarus videos at points where the game inputs occur. He then shows based on audio segments where each click sound occurs. Eiriley fails to provide proper details. The timescale of the screenshot is in milliseconds. He suggests that the click sounds are inconsistently distant from the icon's input reaction. He says this in support of the fact that Kurumi supposedly faked his clicks by hand. How can Kurumi be faking his clicks by hand and be mere milliseconds off from the icon's input reaction every single time without fail for hours and hours of stream and video time? Eiriley even provides his own example of the method, where the clicks are noticeably in sync with the gameplay for a lot of the run. In some parts though, he is blatantly out of sync, especially at 0.25 times speed, on even normal video speed. So Kurumi has done all of this recorded/streamed playtime without making a single mistake like Eiriley did. Watching both of Kurumi's Tartarus videos at even 0.25 times speed does not give off the slightest impression that he is faking his clicks this way. The differences are so unbelievably noticeable that Eiriley had to use a video editor for a smaller timescale to seek them out. The next section points out the volume of Kurumi's clicks, how they are sometimes loud and sometimes silent. I think I wouldn't have to refute this part of the argument had it not been supported by false details. The support of this argument is that even when you boost the volume, click sounds sometimes aren't present. It's true sometimes, but for some you can still hear the audio faintly when boosted. In Unnamed's video, he takes a portion of the video used against Kurumi and boosts the audio. You can hear a click sound if you listen carefully, which was said in Eiriley's video to not be there whatsoever. This isn't an uncommon occurrence either. If you have a bad microphone or a microphone with noise suppression, it can sometimes be hard to pick up clicks at all. Here's a video of my atmosphere completion, which by the way was verified by the list team. Notice how some of the clicks magically aren't there? This is why the argument is weak. The evidence in the Firework bit is definitely inconclusive, but to reinforce that, we can play the no evidence game too, and explain why Kurumi very well might not have had the click sound in there because of foul play. Maybe he was just nervous and accidentally clicked an extra time. There could be many more reasons for this besides foul play. This is weak evidence at best. The super challenge part of the video is either impressively misleading or atrociously misunderstood. Kurumi has portal effects turned off, and this means that anybody watching that hasn't played super challenge will not know that during the supposed illegal click, he is actually in reverse gravity. The click actually does correspond to a part where you should click. You may notice that the click sound is still not exactly where the input happens, but what matters is that the sound latency is very consistent. As for Eiriley's reflection bit at the end of this section, he tries to use the fact that his clicks can go anywhere from loud to not there to reinforce his argument. The only reason you would click as consistently as he's asking for from a legit player is if you're using fake clicks. And the well, nobody else does it or well, everyone else does it argument should not be used as often as he does. The way it's used is always weak. Again, because he keeps rambling, using the fact that other people have or haven't done things is not evidence against someone. He just keeps using this extremely weak argument over and over again. So this section is one of the worst. He first comments on the frame rate of Kurumi's camera. I fully understand how this might be used in an argument coming up, but then Eiriley contradicts himself by pointing out that Kurumi's finger barely moves on a spam part, completely disregarding his comment on the extremely low quality camera. So is the camera quality good enough to make a point like that, and you're willing to give up the initial jab that the camera sucks? Can't have both. He also implies that if a strong click happens, the finger should always come a decent distance from the mouse. I mostly agree with that, but with the 0 frame rate camera he so valiantly states prior, it's a bit hard to make an argument like that. And he then makes a point that he's hacking because the mouse cam is delayed. Easily refuted. Latency. Maybe the latency is high because, I don't know, the camera is garbage? Eiriley says that Kurumi lifts his hand off of the mouse in excitement but continues to straight fly. Kurumi plays with his left hand. Notice how his thumb faces in. He released his right hand into the air with his left hand off screen below, still on his mouse. His right hand goes up and his left hand stays. Simple. Stupid below surface level argument. So the way this method supposedly works is if you overlay 2 videos, saw rotation should be the same no matter what. To be honest, I've literally never heard of this method and I have no idea if it actually works at all. But the way they visually explain it just collapses their argument for me. Okay, so this is supposed to be a match, even though the rotation clearly doesn't line up at all. Kurumi's supposedly cut in the middle of the fade out part, and then they say that the saws now are out of sync rotation wise. The saws are still clearly out of sync like before, yet they say they're now out of sync. How the hell does this help me visualize your method? It makes no sense. I truly am doubting the legitimacy of this method. The last part of this video is completely irrelevant to the hacking exposal, but I think it's a fascinating section, and here's why. Eiriley says that he's virtually the only one getting pushed around by Kurumi when he farms firework. Okay, I have no problem believing that. I wouldn't be happy if someone was treating me unfairly like that either. Kurumi also was commenting on a lot of his joke videos about how the video was obviously hacked. You get the idea. But you know what this shows me? A possible motive for making this exposal. Looks like Eiriley was a little angry at Kurumi, so maybe he wanted to get back at him somehow. Just a very plausible theory though. Probably should have left that out. Anyway, this next bit is just utterly irrelevant to me because of how opinionated it is. And frankly it hurts to watch because it's so cringe. This exposal is all over the place. They can never decide exactly which hacking method he's using. Nothing is coherent whatsoever. It just makes it look like they're trying to frame Kurumi rather than actually gather evidence and prove his illegitimacy, because there is no existing evidence to support their claims. Anyway, this video didn't exactly have to be made, but my god was it fun to pick this apart. To those who got tricked by Eiriley's video, don't let the fact that there is content on the screen be evidence enough alone. Understand what you're looking at before you make a choice. Well, best of luck to Kurumi and whatever he plans to do in the future. Don't let the ill-minded get to you, Kurumi. Peace.